Hey, I wanted to begin the recording today by saying thank you to all of you for your comments and for your likes from the last couple of postings that we've had. It sure meant a lot to hear from you, and some of you even requested stories that I'd purely forgotten about, and it was a good reminder to me, and I appreciate that. If you like what we're doing, continue to like it or to share it to somebody else, and we'll keep these moving along. Every Thursday afternoon, we'll be posting a new one. Before we started with the story today, I wanted to share with you, as always, a verse of scripture, and this one is from Psalm 46:10. It says, "Cease striving and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." And you know, He will be exalted with or without our help. But it's up to you and I to show God and introduce others around us to Jesus. So always remember that. You know, I went to school in a very small town. Uh, uh, I think our graduation class was like 176, and to some of you, maybe that's a large one, but I know to many of you that are hearing this today, that's a rather small graduation class. And when I was graduating, no one ever talked to me about the fact of college or what I needed to do or anything like that. In fact, we had the college I went to required a $25 deposit, and I sent $25 in cash to them. I didn't even know to write a check, but bless their hearts, they took it and reserved what needed to be reserved and did for me what needed to be done, so that when I went in there to check in, everything was ready, just like I'd sent a check, just like everybody else. But when I was finishing high school, I'd promised my grandmother that I'd come back to Louisiana or go back to Louisiana and go to Louisiana College. And so I did. And for me, it was a good move because I went from a small high school to a small college. Though Louisiana College was a lot larger than the high school I went to, I got to start anew. I did not know one soul there, and I enlisted and got going. There's many stories about how I found my place at Louisiana College, but it was some good days and some good times. And one of the things that I had to do right off the bat was I started finding jobs. And one of the jobs that I found was at a hamburger stand there. It was called Dixie World. And I worked there for most of my college career. He always said Mr. Benny was the kindest man. And as I was served churches or did revivals or whatever I did, he was always so kind to let me miss work and just come when I could be there. And so a lot of the stories and a lot of what I was able to experience in college is due to his generosity in my time and allowing me to do it. And half the time he paid me for it, whether I was there or not. So, but anyhow, this one occasion, I was coming home one Friday night from Dixie World from work, and I was tired. It was after 12, and I came to the men's dorm, Tudor Hall. And when you came in the front doors of Tudor Hall, there was a door to your left that you could go down. And when you opened that door, well, there was a hallway of rooms, and then you could go up the 2 flights of stairs to other rooms. Or if you chose the doorway to the right, you went past our dorm parents' apartment, and then there was another set of stairs that took you all the way to the 3rd floor, and the 3rd floor had the new wing in it where there were people living on all 3 floors of that. Well, I came in that night and came in the front door, and I turned left, and I went over to that door, grabbed the handle and pulled it as hard as I could pull it. And when I did, down the hallway you could see this big old snake, and it was coming right toward me, just weaving down that hallway. I slammed that door as hard as I could slam it, and I ran the opposite direction, which put me going right past our dorm parents' apartment. Well, when I got to the apartment, their door was open and there was a light on, and I just ran to the light. Well, when I got to where somebody was there was our dorm mom, and she was sitting there, and I went, "Oh my gosh, there's a snake out here, and it's this big around, and it's coming down." And she's, "Randy, now calm down, be quiet, and go back to the living room. I'll be there in just a second." "But there's a snake, and it's huge. And I opened the door, and it was just coming at me, and she said, "Randy, just calm down, go back to the living room. and I'll be there in just a second. And I said, but you've got to know there's a snake. And all of a sudden I realized that she was sitting on the commode. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I just put my head down. I walked out the door, and I just kept going out the door and to the staircase and on up to my room and sat there for the longest time, just in shock that I had just seen my dorm mother sitting on the commode. Well, after a while, I sat there and somebody came in and I told them about the snake, and they said, well, I heard about that snake. And I said, well, somebody needs to kill it. And they said, oh, it's already a dead snake. So-and-so killed it today, cut its head off, tied a string to the end of it. And every time you pull that door, it just pulled that snake toward you. I went, oh my gosh. I'd already had 4 heart attacks by then because of a dead snake. Can you believe that? As an add-on to that, many years later, I was in New York City standing in line to get on an elevator, and I looked, and there was that dorm mother. And I wanted to go over and hug her neck because it had been many years, 30 years since I'd seen her. But instead, I walked over to her and I said, I got to thinking about the snake as I was walking over there, and the bathroom and all of that kind of stuff. And so I just walked over and I said, are you Mrs.? And I called her name. And she looked up at me because she was a very short lady. And she said, well, honey, I used to be. I'm not now, but I used to be. Do I know you? And I went, no, ma'am, you don't know me. And I walked away. Are you purely burdened?